I found a list of laws so strange they read like jokes. Snails that need train tickets, smiling mandated by city ordinance, a husband fined for forgetting his wife's birthday. None of this is satire. Every one of these was a real law, somewhere enforced by people who meant it. Look closer, though, and something else surfaces underneath the absurdity. A strange law is never random. It is a fossil, a frozen record of exactly what a society feared, craved, or never recovered from. So we are digging through 101 of them, starting on the Senate floor in ancient Rome and ending at a vending machine in New Mexico to find out what each one was actually built to protect.
Rome is where we start, a civilization that tried to legislate even grief. Law 1 banned women from crying at funerals. Wealthy families had taken to hiring professional mourners, turning burials into theater, until the state stepped in to force dignity back into death. Color came under the same control. Law 2 forbade commoners from wearing purple because Tyrian dye, crushed from sea snails by the thousands, was so costly the empire reserved it strictly for the throne. A pigment became a fence around power.
Some punishments read like horror scripts. Under Law 3, anyone convicted of killing a parent was sewn into a sack alongside a dog, a rooster, a monkey, and a snake, then drowned. Lightning victims fared strangely too. Law 4 sometimes denied them burial on the belief that Jupiter had already claimed the body as a sacrifice, and burying it would cheat the god of his due. Family law cut just as deep. A father, under Law 5, could legally sell his own son into slavery, and only after the third such sale did the child finally escape his father's authority for good. Wives lived under their own version of that threat. Law 6 forced a married woman to leave her own home for 3 days every year, or risk being legally folded into her husband's property through a rule called usucapio. Even waste had a price. The Romans taxed urine collected from public latrines under Law 7, since it was prized for tanning leather and laundering togas, the origin of Emperor Vespasian's famous line that money does not stink. Trade, meanwhile, stayed off limits to politicians. Law 8 barred senators from owning large merchant ships, keeping the elite focused on governing rather than profiting. Sparta and Athens ran on different obsessions entirely. Spartan men who stayed single got fined under Law 9, since marriage was treated as a duty owed to the next generation of soldiers. Coinage itself became a weapon against hoarding. Law 10 banned gold and silver currency in Sparta, forcing citizens to carry impractically heavy iron bars instead. Athens, meanwhile, protected its trees. Law 11 made it a crime to cut down a sacred olive tree, treated as religious, economic, and environmental property all at once. And the island of Delos took divine real estate to its logical extreme. Law 12 banned both death and birth on the island to preserve its status as a sacred birthplace. You couldn't legally die there. Egypt and Persia close out the ancient world. Priests in Egypt shaved their entire bodies every few days under Law 13, chasing total ritual purity. Citizens swore formal oaths about their income under Law 14, and lying on that oath brought fines or outright confiscation. Cats, sacred to the goddess Bastet, were protected by Law 15, making it a crime to harm or kill one even by accident. Persia, finally, treated dishonesty as the gravest offense imaginable. Law 16 tied lying directly to religious belief, decreeing that deceit cursed the whole nation. Grief, color, money, truth. Control all four, and you control a society's pressure points. So what were these laws really protecting? Power, mostly, and whatever a civilization was most afraid of losing. Jump forward 1,000 years and medieval Europe is legislating life down to the stitching on a shoe. England led the charge. King Edward III banned football outright in 1314 under Law 17, worried the violent game was distracting men from the archery practice the kingdom actually needed for war. Tradition wasn't safe either. Law 18 saw 17th century Puritan lawmakers attempt to ban eating mince pies on Christmas Day, trying to stamp out customs the church considered pagan leftovers. Animals got oddly specific legal treatment. Stealing a dead whale was illegal under Law 19, since whales counted as royal fish. Head to the king, tail to the queen, no negotiation. Tennis, meanwhile, became a class issue. Law 20 banned non-noble young men from playing year-round, except at Christmas, specifically to choke off working-class gambling and distraction. Fashion turned into a battlefield of its own. Shoes with points longer than 2 inches were outlawed under Law 21, a direct strike against commoners copying the elite's flashy style. Dinner got the same treatment. Law 22 capped meals at 2 courses, again to stop ordinary people from imitating their social superiors at the table. Even Sunday afternoons weren't free. Law 23 required every able-bodied Englishman to practice longbow shooting, since the realm leaned on citizen archers instead of a standing army. Punishment, when it came, could be theatrical and cruel in equal measure. A scold's bridle, a metal cage locked over the head with a plate pinning down the tongue, waited under Law 24 for women caught gossiping. After the Black Death gutted the workforce, Law 25, the Statute of Laborers of 1351, criminalized unemployment outright, forcing survivors back to pre-plague wages under threat of prison. Hunting the king's deer carried an even harsher penalty originally. Law 26 called for blinding and castration, which was later softened to a heavy fine. And in Newmarket, Law 27 banned blowing your nose in the street, purely to protect the town's valuable racehorses from catching an illness. Animals occasionally ended up on trial themselves. Pigs faced formal murder charges across medieval Europe under Law 28, while crop-destroying insects got excommunicated by church courts. Luxury got fenced in by status. 16th century Italy restricted ownership of a jeweled dead sable worn as an accessory under Law 29, keeping opulence tied strictly to wealth. Tsar Peter the Great went after appearance itself, banning facial hair in Russia under Law 30 to forcibly westernize the country, taxing any man who refused to shave. A few of these rules were genuinely ahead of their time. Ireland banned plowing with a plow tied directly to a horse's tail in 1635 under Law 31, one of the earliest documented animal cruelty laws on record. Scotland barred commoners' wives from wearing caps made of rich imported fabric under Law 32, reserving luxury textiles for the elite. Across much of Europe, Law 33 made it a punishable offense for peasants to marry without their landowner's permission. The assize of bread and ale, Law 34, fixed the exact weight of a loaf and strength of ale, publicly shaming any baker caught shorting customers. And trial by ordeal, forcing a suspect to carry a red-hot iron bar under Law 35, rested on the belief that a divine power would protect the innocent. Here is the contradiction sitting underneath all of it. A legal system that punished peasants for marrying without permission also produced one of history's earliest animal welfare laws. Cruelty and conscience were somehow operating out of the exact same rulebook at the exact same time. You'd assume modern Europe cleaned all this up. It didn't. A surprising number of these ordinances simply never got erased from the books. Britain alone qualifies as a museum of legal leftovers. The 1986 Salmon Act, Law 36, makes it an offense to handle a salmon under suspicious circumstances, originally written to fight poaching, not to sound like a punchline. Dying inside the Houses of Parliament is technically prohibited under Law 37, since doing so would legally entitle you to a state funeral. Law 38 bans entering Parliament in a suit of armor, a statute dating back to 1313 and a period of serious political turmoil. And carrying a plank of wood along a London pavement counts as an offense under Law 39, purely to keep the street clear of obstructions. Old superstitions linger here, too. Pretending to be a witch stayed illegal until 1951 under Law 40, the Witchcraft Act, which had quietly shifted from punishing magic to prosecuting fraudulent psychics. Being drunk inside a pub breaks Law 41, a rule designed to make publicans responsible for disorderly customers. Beating a carpet or doormat in the street after 8 in the morning violates Law 42. Operating a cow, a horse, or a steam engine while intoxicated breaks Law 43. Flying a kite in public can be illegal under Law 44 if it causes annoyance or danger. And paying with your phone at a drive-thru breaks Law 45, since it technically counts as using a mobile phone while your engine is running.
cross into Scotland, and Law 46 features a customary rule that flips hospitality into legal obligation. If someone knocks asking to use your toilet, tradition dictates you have to let them in.
France treats etiquette like infrastructure. Any animal under 5 kilos needs its own train ticket under Law 47, snails included. Rumors of Law 48 claim naming a pig Napoleon is forbidden, an enduring urban myth born from intense respect for the emperor. Kissing on a train station platform has been illegal since 1910 under Law 49, a rule meant to stop drawn-out goodbyes from delaying departures. Ketchup was restricted in school cafeterias under Law 50 to protect both children's diets and traditional French cuisine. French women once needed police authorization just to wear trousers under Law 51, a 19th century rule that legally stayed on the books until 2013. You can legally write a check on a blank piece of toilet paper under Law 52, provided it carries all the required financial information. Residents of Sarparank are legally required to own a burial plot before they die under Law 53 due to a critical shortage of cemetery space. And you cannot get drunk at work under Law 54 unless the drink happens to be wine, beer, cider, or hydromel.
Italy brings its own flavor of strict. Milan requires residents to smile at all times under Law 55, except at funerals or in hospitals, a relic from Austro-Hungarian rule meant to boost public morale. Turin fines dog owners under Law 56 for not walking their pets at least 3 times a day. Rome bans keeping a goldfish in a round glass bowl under Law 57 on animal cruelty grounds. And Venice outlaws feeding pigeons in St. Mark's Square under Law 58 to protect the historic monuments from the mess they leave behind.
Animal welfare keeps resurfacing. Switzerland classifies owning a single guinea pig as cruelty under Law 59, since national welfare law recognizes them as social animals that need companionship. Denmark requires drivers to check underneath their cars for sleeping children before driving off under Law 60. And Denmark's naming laws, Law 61, force parents to pick from a government-approved list to keep names socially acceptable and grammatically correct. You probably think your own country's legal code is finally rational. It almost certainly still has at least one law this strange sitting quietly on the books, waiting for someone to notice. Move east, and the focus shifts from class and superstition toward public order, hygiene, and national image. Singapore runs on discipline above almost everything else. Importing or selling chewing gum has been banned under Law 62 since discarded gum kept jamming subway train doors. Failing to flush a public toilet can earn an on-the-spot fine under Law 63. Walking naked inside your own home counts as public indecency under Law 64 if you can be seen from outside. Feeding pigeons is strictly prohibited under Law 65, and using someone else's Wi-Fi without permission counts as unauthorized access under Law 66 with real legal consequences attached. Japan mixes bureaucracy with the genuinely bizarre. The so-called Matabo Law, Law 67, sets a maximum waistline for citizens over 40, aimed at curbing obesity and lowering national healthcare costs. Under Law 68, old global space treaties are often humorously misquoted as obligating citizens to report extraterrestrial life immediately to the United Nations. China leans toward family duty and ideology instead. The Elderly Rights Law, Law 69, legally requires adult children to visit their parents often and tend to their emotional needs. Tibetan monks, under Law 70, must obtain government permission before they are allowed to reincarnate. National symbols get treated as sacred across the region. Stepping on money is illegal in Thailand under Law 71, since the currency bears the image of the revered king. Driving shirtless is an offense there too, under Law 72, regardless of the heat. Leaving the house without underwear is also legally prohibited, under Law 73. South Korea's Cinderella Law, Law 74, historically banned children under 16 from playing online games between midnight and 6 in the morning, a direct response to gaming addiction. And in North Korea, wearing denim jeans is illegal under Law 75, viewed as a symbol of American cultural influence and a threat to state ideology.
A few of these laws are genuinely unexpected. The Philippines possesses citizens' arrest laws so broad that they operate like private bounty hunting under Law 76, letting ordinary citizens capture fugitives. And in Samoa, forgetting your wife's birthday is a rumor so heavily circulated, it is often recorded as Law 77.
Then there is Australia, where the laws sound almost like jokes from a Western. Western Australia caps potato possession under Law 78, a protectionist rule meant to control the local market. Victoria bans corresponding or doing business with pirates under Law 79. South Australia punishes intentionally disturbing a wedding or a funeral under Law 80. And under Law 81, also in South Australia, advertising a reward for lost property with a no questions asked clause is illegal, specifically to stop thieves from profiting off what they stole.
One number from this stretch is worth sitting with: 50 kilograms. That is the exact legal threshold separating an innocent pantry from a potato smuggling charge in Western Australia. And somebody at some point had to weigh enough confiscated potatoes to land on that figure. Finally, the United States, home to thousands of hyper-specific local ordinances, most born from one strange incident in one small town that simply never got repealed.
Some protect regional pride above all else. Gainesville, Georgia, the self-declared poultry capital of the world, technically outlaws eating fried chicken with a fork under Law 82, bare hands only. Alabama bans bear wrestling matches outright under Law 83, closing the door on a dangerous 19th century carnival sport. And in Louisiana, harassment statutes under Law 84 have been used to fine people for arranging a surprise pizza delivery to a friend without their knowledge.
Footwear and food show up constantly. Carmel, California requires a free permit from City Hall for heels taller than 2 inches under Law 85, limiting the city's liability if you trip on uneven pavement. If a frog dies during a frog jumping competition in California, eating it is illegal under Law 86. Carrying an ice cream cone in your back pocket is illegal in Alabama under Law 87. Florida restaurant owners face heavy fines for permitting dwarf tossing competitions under Law 88. A famous myth claims passing wind in public after 6 in the evening on Thursdays is illegal in Florida under Law 89. Dyeing a duckling blue and selling it is unlawful in Kentucky under Law 90 unless you offer at least 6 of them for sale at once. And in North Dakota, a widely repeated myth insists beer and pretzels cannot legally be served at the same time in a bar under Law 91.
A few of these laws targeted very specific trouble. Congregating in public while wearing masks is illegal in New York under Law 92, originally meant to stop disguised gang gatherings during the anti-rent era. Beacon, New York once outlawed pinball machines entirely within city limits under Law 93, treating them as a genuine societal threat. Pushing a live moose out of a moving airplane is a crime in Alaska under Law 94, and in Arizona, donkeys are prohibited from sleeping in bathtubs under Law 95, a rule passed after a sleeping donkey was famously swept away in a 1920s flood and had to be rescued. A handful of these are either ahead of their time or stuck firmly behind it. Colorado residents hold a legally protected right to access sunlight under Law 96, restricting neighbors from blocking solar panels. Vermont is rumored to require a woman to obtain written permission from her husband to wear false teeth under Law 97. New Mexico prohibits selling alcoholic beverages from a vending machine under Law 98. Missouri bans using an X-ray machine to determine someone's shoe size under Law 99 due to the radiation exposure involved. Indiana outlaws catching a fish with your bare hands under Law 100. And finally, under Law 101, Illinois lets people under 21 legally drink alcohol, but only if they are actively enrolled in a culinary program. 101 laws, 4 continents, almost 3,000 years, and the clock on this list runs out exactly where it should: on a donkey, a bathtub, and a flood in 1920s Arizona. Out of all 101 of these, the one that should bother you most is that donkey in the Arizona bathtub, because somewhere, at some point, that actually happened, and a law got written specifically so it would never happen again. Which raises an obvious question. How many of today's ordinary laws started out exactly the same way, as a panicked reaction to one bizarre disaster nobody saw coming? Next, I trace 5 modern laws back to the strange, true incidents that forced them into existence, and a couple of them are even stranger than this list. That is on ScienceTelly, right there on your screen.